Welcome to the Cheating Diaries channel. I awoke to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Groggily, I reached for it and squinted at the screen. 3 a.m. An unknown number had sent a single chilling text. "You deserve to know the truth about Jessica." My heart raced as I tried to make sense of the message. Was it a prank? A mistake? But something deep inside told me otherwise. I glanced over at my wife, Jessica, sleeping peacefully beside me, her face serene and innocent. For a moment, I considered waking her up, demanding answers, but I knew better. Confrontations at 3 in the morning rarely led to anything good. As the sun began to rise, my mind was still reeling from the cryptic text. I decided to dismiss it, convincing myself it was some sort of cruel joke, but the nagging doubt lingered. I went about my morning routine, forcing a smile when Jessica joined me in the kitchen, her hair still damp from the shower. "Good morning, love," she said, leaning in to kiss me. I caught a faint whiff of a cologne that wasn't mine. "Morning," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Anything interesting planned for today?" Jessica shrugged, her eyes darting away from mine. "Just the usual. Meetings, lesson plans. You know how it is." I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. That cologne. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. After she left for work, I found myself pacing the living room, the message from the night before replaying in my head. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my keys and headed to her school. I parked across the street, watching as teachers and students milled about. My heart pounded in my chest when I saw Jessica exit the building, laughing and talking animatedly with a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, with dark hair and an easy smile that seemed to charm everyone around him. I snapped a few pictures with my phone, feeling like a detective in a bad TV drama. Later that evening, I decided to confront Jessica. As we sat down to dinner, I placed my phone on the table, the pictures glaring up at us. "Who's this?" I asked, my voice calm but cold. Jessica glanced at the screen, her face paling. "Oh, that's Mark. Hez new at the school. Why do you ask?" I leaned back in my chair, studying her reaction. "I got a strange text last night. Someone said I deserved to know the truth about you." She looked genuinely shocked, but there was a flicker of something else in her eyes. Fear, maybe? "That's ridiculous. You know I would never—" "Do I?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "Because right now I don't know what to believe." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were from guilt or frustration. "I love you, and you know that. Please, you have to trust me." But trust was a fragile thing, easily shattered and difficult to rebuild. As I lay in bed that night, listening to Jessica's soft sobs beside me, I knew our relationship had been irrevocably changed. The seed of doubt had been planted, and it was growing roots deep into my heart. I decided then and there that I wouldn't be taken for a fool. If Jessica was hiding something, I would find out. And when I did, there would be consequences. I would make sure of that. The days that followed were a blur of anxiety and mounting suspicion. I tried to act normal around Jessica, but every interaction felt strained, every smile forced. The nagging doubt gnawed at me, and I couldn't help but scrutinize every detail of her behavior. Jessica's late nights at work became more frequent, and her excuses more elaborate. She talked about new projects, sudden staff meetings, and even impromptu parent-teacher conferences. But something didn't add up. I knew the routines of her school, and these explanations seemed increasingly implausible. One evening, as I sat alone in our living room, I decided to follow her. It felt wrong, like I was betraying her trust, but the need to know the truth outweighed my guilt. I waited until she left for another late meeting, and then I grabbed my coat and keys. I parked a few blocks away from the school and watched as Jessica's car pulled into the lot. She stepped out, looking around nervously, before heading toward a small cafe across the street. My heart sank as I saw Mark waiting for her, a broad smile spreading across his face as she approached. They embraced briefly and then disappeared inside. I waited in the car, my mind racing. What were they doing? Was this just a friendly meeting or something more? The minutes dragged on, and I could feel my anger simmering. After what felt like an eternity, I saw them through the cafe window, sitting close, their heads bent together in intimate conversation. The next day, I decided to take a more direct approach. I called in sick to work and hired a private investigator. It felt extreme, but I needed concrete evidence. The investigator, a grizzled man named Tom with decades of experience, assured me he would find out the truth. As days turned into weeks, Tom provided me with a steady stream of updates. Jessica and Mark's meetings were more frequent than I had imagined, and their interactions were more intimate. He sent me photos of them holding hands, sharing private jokes, and even kissing in secluded spots. With each piece of evidence, my heart hardened. I felt a mix of betrayal, anger, and sadness. How could she do this to me? To us? We had built a life together and shared dreams and plans for the future, and now it felt like it was all crumbling down around me. One evening, Tom handed me a thick envelope filled with photos and notes. "This should be enough," he said, his voice tinged with sympathy. "I'm sorry, man." I thanked him and spent the rest of the night going through the evidence piece by piece. It was undeniable. Jessica was having an affair with Mark. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt a surge of rage. But with the anger came clarity. I knew what I had to do. The next day, I confronted Jessica again, this time armed with the irrefutable proof of her betrayal. I laid the photos out on the table, watching as her face turned from confusion to horror. "How long?" I asked, my voice trembling with barely contained fury. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, but I felt no sympathy. "Please, let me explain," she pleaded. "How long?" I repeated, louder this time. Jessica's shoulders slumped in defeat. "A few months," she whispered. My world shattered. The woman I loved, the life we had built, it was all a lie. I stared at her, my mind reeling. The betrayal was complete, but at that moment a cold resolve took hold of me. If she thought she could get away with this, she was sorely mistaken. I would make sure she paid for her deceit, and that Mark did too. This was far from over. The confrontation with Jessica left me feeling hollow. Her tearful admission played on a loop in my mind, and despite her pleas for forgiveness, I couldn't bring myself to feel anything but cold determination. I knew I needed more than just photos and suspicions. I needed solid, irrefutable proof to expose her and Mark for what they had done. I spent the next few days in a daze, pretending to go through the motions of daily life while secretly plotting my next move. Jessica, oblivious to my plans, continued her deceit, slipping out late at night and returning with flimsy excuses. I kept my composure, knowing that my revenge required patience. Tom, the private investigator, had proven his worth, but I needed more. I needed to catch them in the act, to have undeniable evidence that would destroy their lives, as they had destroyed mine. I decided to take matters into my own hands and set up a series of hidden cameras in our home. Jessica's usual carelessness worked in my favor. She didn't notice a thing. I also hacked into her phone, a move that felt both empowering and sickening. I told myself it was necessary, that I deserved to know the truth, no matter how painful. The texts between Jessica and Mark were damning, filled with plans to meet, declarations of love, and intimate details that made my skin crawl. One evening, as I sat in front of my computer, reviewing the footage and messages, I stumbled upon a particularly incriminating exchange. Mark was planning to take Jessica to a secluded cabin for the weekend. The thought of them together, away from prying eyes, was unbearable, but it also presented an opportunity I couldn't ignore. I decided to follow them, to catch them in the act, and gather the final pieces of evidence I needed. I took a day off work and trailed them as they left town, keeping a safe distance to avoid detection. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched them drive, my mind filled with a toxic mix of anger and anticipation. The cabin was nestled deep in the woods, far from civilization. I parked a short distance away and approached on foot, my camera ready. As I crept closer, I could hear their laughter, their voices mingling in a sickeningly sweet melody. I peered through a window and saw them together, their bodies intertwined in a way that made my blood boil. I snapped photo after photo, my hands shaking with rage. It was more than enough. I had the proof I needed to expose them, to destroy their lives as they had destroyed mine. But as I watched them, another plan began to take shape in my mind, a plan that went beyond simple revenge. I wanted them to feel the pain, the betrayal, and the humiliation that I had felt. With the evidence secured, I left the cabin and returned home, my mind racing with possibilities. The next day, I compiled everything into a comprehensive dossier, complete with photos, texts, and a detailed timeline of their affair. I sent anonymous copies to the school administration, ensuring that their colleagues and students would know the truth. But that wasn't enough. I wanted to confront Mark directly, to see the look on his face when he realized his life was over. I waited outside his apartment, my heart pounding as I watched him arrive home. He looked surprised to see me, but greeted me with a smile that quickly faded when he saw the fury in my eyes. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice tinged with nervousness. I handed him the dossier, watching as he flipped through the pages, his face growing paler with each passing moment. "This is what's going on," I said, my voice cold and steady. "You thought you could get away with it, but you were wrong. You and Jessica will pay for what you've done." Mark stammered, trying to find the right words, but I didn't give him a chance. "Stay away from my wife," I growled, "and if you ever come near her again, I will ruin you. Consider this your only warning." I left him standing there, clutching the evidence of his betrayal, and walked away, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. The seeds of suspicion had blossomed into full-blown vengeance, and there was no turning back. Jessica and Mark had no idea what was coming next, but I did, and I was ready. The days following my confrontation with Mark were filled with a tense quiet. I could sense the storm brewing, but Jessica remained unaware of the full extent of the evidence I had collected. She was still making excuses for her absences and maintaining the facade of normalcy. It was maddening to see her try to act like nothing was wrong, all while knowing the truth. I decided it was time to take the next step. My goal was not just to punish Jessica and Mark, but to ensure that their deceit would not go unnoticed by those around them. I needed to expose their betrayal publicly, to make sure they faced the consequences of their actions. I meticulously prepared the dossier, making sure it was comprehensive and detailed. It included photos of Jessica and Mark together, along with incriminating text messages and a timeline of their affair. I also made copies for the school administration, Jessica's colleagues, and even some of our mutual friends who were unaware of the affair. On Monday morning, I arranged for the school's weekly staff meeting to be held in the auditorium. I knew Jessica would be there, and I planned to make my move just as the meeting was about to start. With the help of a friend who worked in the school's administration, I arranged for the dossier to be distributed among the staff as they entered the auditorium. As I sat in the back, waiting for the meeting to begin, I felt a strange mix of anticipation and dread. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched teachers and staff file in, their chatter gradually fading as they took their seats. I could see Jessica arriving, her face lit up with her usual, though somewhat forced smile. The meeting started, and everything seemed to be going as planned. I could see Jessica glancing at the papers being handed out, her expression changing from curiosity to confusion as she flipped through the dossier. Her face turned pale as she began to understand what was happening. When the meeting reached its climax, I stood up and addressed the room. "Thank you all for coming," I said, my voice steady. "Before we proceed, I'd like to draw your attention to the documents you've just received. They contain information that I believe is important for everyone to know." There was a murmur of surprise and confusion among the staff as they started to read the dossier. Jessica's eyes widened in shock, and I saw her try to make sense of the documents in her hands. The room was filled with a tense silence as the gravity of the situation sank in. Jessica stood up, her face flushed and her voice trembling. "This is all a lie. It's not what it looks like." But her pleas fell on deaf ears. The evidence was overwhelming, and the staff had already seen enough. The meeting quickly turned into a heated discussion, with many expressing their disbelief and outrage. I watched as Jessica tried to explain, her attempts at damage control only making things worse. Mark's presence at the meeting was an added complication. He arrived midway through, only to be greeted with the same shocked and disbelieving looks from the staff. His face turned a deep shade of red as he realized that his affair with Jessica was now public knowledge. In the chaos that followed, Jessica and Mark were forced to face the consequences of their actions. Jessica's colleagues and friends confronted her with questions, and the school administration had to deal with the fallout of the scandal. It was a public spectacle, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of grim satisfaction as I watched them squirm. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of reactions and repercussions. Jessica's reputation was in tatters, and she faced backlash from colleagues, students, and parents. Mark, too, found himself ostracized and shunned by the community. The affair that had once seemed like a secret now hung over them like a dark cloud, casting a long shadow over their lives. As for me, I felt a strange sense of closure. The public exposure of Jessica and Mark's betrayal had been a necessary step, a way to ensure that they faced the consequences of their actions. But even as I watched their lives unravel, I knew that the pain and anger from this ordeal would take time to heal. The public revelation had achieved its purpose, but it was only one part of the journey. There was still more to come, and the path to healing was far from over. The public revelation had been a success, but it only whetted my appetite for revenge. Jessica and Mark's humiliation was just the beginning. I wanted them to feel the full weight of their betrayal, to understand that their actions had consequences far beyond mere embarrassment. With the school administration in turmoil and Jessica's reputation in tatters, I began to plot my next move. I wanted to hit them where it hurt the most, their personal and professional lives. My plan had to be meticulous, leaving no room for error or redemption. First, I decided to target their professional lives. Jessica had always prided herself on her dedication to teaching, and Mark, too, held his career in high regard. I knew that exposing their affair had already done significant damage, but I wanted to ensure that their careers would never recover. I gathered all the evidence I had and compiled a comprehensive report detailing their unprofessional conduct and the impact it had on the school's environment. I included testimonies from colleagues who had witnessed their inappropriate behavior and even managed to get a few parents to voice their concerns. I sent the report to the school board, demanding a thorough investigation and appropriate action. As I waited for the board's response, I turned my attention to their personal lives. Jessica and Mark had managed to keep their affair hidden from their families and close friends, but I intended to change that. I started by contacting Jessica's parents, who lived out of state. They had always been fond of me and were unaware of their daughter's betrayal. I scheduled a meeting with them and presented the evidence of Jessica's affair. Their shock and disappointment were palpable. I could see the pain in their eyes as they struggled to come to terms with their daughter's actions. I left them with the dossier, knowing that they would confront Jessica and demand answers. Next, I reached out to Mark's wife, Karen. She was a kind woman who had always welcomed me into their home. I arranged to meet her at a local cafe and handed her the evidence. Watching her face crumble as she realized the extent of her husband's betrayal was difficult but necessary. She deserved to know the truth, and I knew she would take action to protect herself and her children. With Jessica's parents and Mark's wife informed, the fallout was swift. Jessica's parents cut off contact with her, expressing their disappointment and disbelief. Mark's wife filed for divorce and sought full custody of their children. The ripple effect of their affair spread through their personal lives, leaving them isolated and alone. The school board's investigation concluded with both Jessica and Mark being dismissed from their positions. Their careers in education were effectively over, and their professional reputations were ruined. The once admired teachers were now pariahs in the community, shunned by former colleagues and students alike. Despite the satisfaction of seeing their lives crumble, I knew my ultimate revenge was not yet complete. I needed to ensure that they would never forget the pain they had caused me. I decided to confront them one last time, to make sure they understood the full extent of their betrayal and the consequences they would face. I arranged to meet them at a neutral location, a quiet park where we could talk without interruption. When they arrived, their faces were a mixture of anger, fear, and desperation. They knew they had lost everything, and I was the reason why. "I hope you're happy," Jessica spat, her voice trembling with rage. "You've ruined our lives." I looked at her, my expression cold and unyielding. "You did this to yourselves. You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." Mark stepped forward, his fists clenched. "What do you want from us?" "I want you to understand the pain you caused me," I replied, my voice steady. "I want you to know that every lie, every betrayal, has a price. You've lost your careers, your families, and your dignity. That's the price you pay for your deceit." Jessica and Mark stood there, their shoulders slumped in defeat. They had nothing left to say, and neither did I. I turned and walked away, leaving them to face the wreckage of their lives. As I left the park, I felt a sense of closure. My plan for ultimate revenge had been executed to perfection, and Jessica and Mark had paid the price for their betrayal. The pain they had caused me would take time to heal, but knowing that justice had been served brought me a measure of peace. This chapter of my life was over, and I was ready to move forward. The future was uncertain, but I knew that I had the strength to rebuild and start anew. And as for Jessica and Mark, their fate was sealed. They would forever be haunted by the consequences of their actions, a constant reminder of the price of betrayal. The aftermath of my revenge left a void in my life. While Jessica and Mark faced the consequences of their actions, I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered existence. The satisfaction of seeing their downfall was fleeting, and I realized that my healing journey was just beginning. The first step was to put some distance between myself and the memories of our shared life. I decided to sell the house. The place that had once been a sanctuary now felt tainted by betrayal. I contacted a real estate agent and began the process of selling the property. It was painful to walk through the empty rooms, each one filled with echoes of the past, but I knew it was necessary. As I sorted through our belongings, I found myself reflecting on our 17 years of marriage. There had been good times, of course, but those memories were now overshadowed by the sting of Jessica's infidelity. I gathered everything that reminded me of her, the photos, the mementos, the little trinkets, and packed them away. I couldn't bring myself to throw them out, but I needed them out of sight. With the house on the market, I moved into a small apartment downtown. It was a fresh start, a blank slate where I could begin to rebuild. The apartment was modest but comfortable, and I took solace in the simplicity of my new surroundings. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects and staying late at the office. It was a welcome distraction, a way to keep my mind occupied and away from the dark thoughts that threatened to overwhelm me. My colleagues noticed the change in me, but they respected my need for space and didn't press for details. In the evenings, I explored the city, rediscovering places I hadn't visited in years. I walked along the river, wandered through parks, and spent hours in coffee shops, observing the world around me. It was during one of these solitary excursions that I met Laura. She was sitting at a corner table in a cozy cafe, her laptop open in front of her, and a look of intense concentration on her face. I couldn't help but notice her. There was something about her presence that drew me in. When she glanced up and caught me staring, she smiled, and I felt a warmth I hadn't experienced in a long time. "Mind if I join you?" I asked, gesturing to the empty seat across from her. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Sure, why not?" We struck up a conversation, and I learned that Laura was a writer working on her latest novel. She was smart, funny, and had a way of making me feel at ease. For the first time since discovering Jessica's betrayal, I felt a genuine connection with someone. Over the next few weeks, Laura and I met regularly. We talked about everything: our lives, our dreams, our fears. She listened without judgment as I recounted my painful story, and I found comfort in her understanding. She had her scars and her battles to fight, and together, we began to heal. Despite the growing bond between us, I was careful not to rush things. I knew that I needed to fully process my emotions and ensure that I wasn't simply using Laura as a way to forget Jessica. I continued to attend therapy sessions, working through my feelings and learning how to move forward. As time passed, I began to feel more like myself. The anger and bitterness gradually faded, replaced by a sense of peace. I was learning to trust again, not just in others, but in myself. I realized that I was stronger than I had given myself credit for, and that I had the power to rebuild my life on my terms. Laura became an integral part of my new life, but I made sure to maintain my independence. We supported each other, but we also gave each other space to grow individually. It was a healthy balance, and it allowed our relationship to develop naturally. One evening, as we sat on a bench overlooking the river, Laura turned to me and said, "You know, you've come a long way since we first met. I'm proud of you." Her words touched me deeply, and I took her hand in mine. "Thank you, Laura. I couldn't have done it without you." She smiled and leaned in, resting her head on my shoulder. As we watched the sunset together, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer defined me. I was ready to embrace the future, with all its uncertainties and possibilities. Rebuilding my life had been a challenging journey, but it had also been a transformative one. I had learned to let go of the past, to forgive myself, and to open my heart to new experiences. And as I looked at Laura, I knew that I was no longer alone. We were both survivors, and together, we would continue to heal and grow. This chapter of my life was closing, but a new one was beginning. I was ready to face it, with courage and hope, and the knowledge that I had the strength to overcome whatever came my way. As the months rolled by, my new life began to take shape. The pain of betrayal still lingered, but it no longer controlled me. With Laura by my side and a renewed sense of purpose, I felt a glimmer of happiness returning. I had come a long way from the broken man who discovered his wife's infidelity, and I was determined to reclaim my joy. One of the first steps in this journey was reconnecting with old friends. During my marriage, I had drifted away from many of them, caught up in the daily grind and my relationship with Jessica. But now I reached out, rekindling friendships that had once been a significant part of my life. I was surprised and touched by their warmth and understanding. They welcomed me back with open arms, offering support and encouragement. I also took up new hobbies and revisited old ones. Photography, something I had always enjoyed but neglected over the years, became a therapeutic outlet for me. I spent weekends exploring the city, capturing moments of beauty and stillness through my lens. It was a way to see the world anew and find peace in the process. Laura and I continued to grow closer, our bond strengthening with each passing day. We took things slow, allowing our relationship to develop naturally. There was no rush, no pressure, just a mutual understanding and respect for each other's journeys. We spent countless evenings talking, laughing, and simply enjoying each other's company. For the first time in a long time, I felt a genuine sense of companionship and love. One sunny Saturday afternoon, Laura and I decided to take a trip to the countryside. We packed a picnic and drove to a beautiful, secluded spot by a lake. The air was crisp, the sky a brilliant blue, and the landscape serene. It was the perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. As we sat by the water, sharing stories and enjoying the tranquility, I realized how far I had come. The anger and bitterness that once consumed me had been replaced by a sense of calm and contentment. I had faced my demons and come out stronger on the other side. "Ethan," Laura said, breaking into my thoughts, "do you ever think about what you want to do next? Where do you see yourself in the future?" I smiled, looking out at the shimmering lake. I used to have everything planned out, but now, I think I'm just taking it one day at a time. I want to live in the moment, appreciate what I have, and build a life that makes me happy. And hopefully, that includes you. Laura's eyes sparkled as she reached for my hand. I feel the same way. We've both been through so much, but we have a chance to create something beautiful together. Let's make the most of it. That day marked a turning point for me. It was a reminder that happiness is not something to be chased or forced. It's something to be nurtured and cherished. I had spent so long focusing on the past and the pain, but now I was ready to embrace the future with hope and optimism. I continued my therapy sessions, working through the residual feelings of betrayal and hurt. It wasn't easy, but each session brought me closer to healing. I learned to forgive myself for the anger and resentment I had felt, and to let go of the bitterness that had once consumed me. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or condoning what had happened. It meant freeing myself from the chains of the past. Laura and I also began to make plans for the future. We talked about traveling, exploring new places, and creating memories together. We discussed our dreams and aspirations, supporting each other in our individual goals. Our relationship was built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect, and it was these foundations that allowed us to grow stronger every day. As I stood on the balcony of my apartment one evening, watching the city lights twinkle below, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Life had thrown me into the depths of despair, but I had climbed out, stronger and more resilient than ever. I had found love again, not just in Laura, but in myself. I had learned to appreciate the little moments of joy and to embrace the uncertainty of the future. Reclaiming my happiness was a journey, not a destination. It was about finding balance, nurturing relationships, and being true to myself. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but I was ready to face them with courage and optimism. As I turned to go back inside, I felt a warmth in my heart that I hadn't felt in a long time. I was no longer defined by the betrayal or the pain. I was defined by my strength, my resilience, and my capacity to love. And with that, I knew I was finally on the path to true happiness. Despite my newfound happiness, I knew there was still unfinished business. The weight of the past lingered, and I needed closure. I had confronted Jessica and Mark, but there were still things left unsaid, feelings that needed to be addressed. It was time to face the past head-on, confront Jessica one final time, and find the peace I desperately sought. I decided to meet with Jessica in a neutral location. We arranged to meet at a quiet cafe in a part of town far from any familiar faces. The anticipation of seeing her again stirred a mix of emotions within me. I was nervous but also resolute. This meeting was necessary for my healing, and I needed to approach it with a clear mind and a steady heart. As I walked into the cafe, I spotted Jessica sitting at a corner table, her eyes scanning the room nervously. She looked different, tired, perhaps weighed down by the consequences of her actions. When she saw me, she forced a weak smile and gestured for me to join her. "Ethan," she said softly as I sat down. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." I nodded, taking a moment to gather my thoughts. "I think it's time we had an honest conversation, Jessica. Some things need to be said." She looked down, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "I know I hurt you deeply, and for that I am truly sorry. I've had a lot of time to reflect on my actions, and I understand the pain I caused." Hearing her apology was a small comfort, but it didn't erase the past. "Why, Jessica, why did you do it? We had a life together, a marriage I thought was strong. What drove you to betray me?" She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with tears. "I wish I could give you a simple answer, but it's complicated. I felt lost, Ethan. I was unhappy and looking for something I couldn't even define. When Mark came into my life, it felt like an escape, a way to feel alive again. But it was a mistake, and I realize that now." Her words struck a chord within me. While I didn't condone her actions, I could understand the sense of emptiness she described. "You should have talked to me," I said, my voice softer now. "We could have worked through it together. Instead, you chose to go behind my back." "I know," she whispered, wiping away a tear. "I was selfish and cowardly. I didn't want to face the reality of our problems, so I ran away from them. I can't change what I did, but I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me." Forgiveness. It was a concept I had struggled with for months. I knew that holding on to anger and resentment would only hinder my healing, but letting go was easier said than done. "Jessica, forgiving you isn't about excusing what you did. It's about freeing myself from the pain. I'm trying to move on, to rebuild my life, but it's a process." She nodded, understanding. "I just want you to know that I regret everything. I've lost so much, my career, my family, and most importantly, you. I hope you can find happiness again." "I already have," I said, thinking of Laura and the new life I was building. "But this meeting isn't just about closure for me. It's about making sure we both understand the gravity of what happened. It's about ensuring that neither of us makes these mistakes again." Jessica looked relieved, as if a burden had been lifted from her shoulders. "I understand. Thank you for giving me this chance to apologize. I hope you find peace." We sat in silence for a few moments, the weight of our shared history hanging in the air. Finally, I stood up, ready to leave. "Take care, Jessica. I hope you find what you're looking for." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Goodbye, Ethan." As I walked out of the cafe, I felt a sense of finality. The chapter with Jessica was finally closed. I had confronted the past and found the closure I needed. It wasn't about forgiving and forgetting. It was about acknowledging the pain and choosing to move forward. I met Laura later that evening, feeling lighter than I had in months. We sat together, talking and laughing, and I realized that confronting Jessica had been the right decision. It allowed me to truly let go and embrace the future without the shadows of the past. The journey to reclaim my happiness was ongoing, but I was no longer burdened by the weight of betrayal. I had faced my demons and emerged stronger, and with Laura by my side, I was ready to continue building a life filled with love, trust, and joy. The past was behind me, and the future was bright. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly free. With the closure from my meeting with Jessica, I felt a new chapter of my life truly beginning. The weight of the past had been lifted, and I could breathe freely again. But there was still work to be done, both within myself and in my relationships. Healing and forgiveness were ongoing processes, and I was committed to seeing them through. My therapy sessions became more focused on rebuilding my sense of self and understanding the depths of forgiveness. My therapist, Dr. Collins, guided me through exercises to help me let go of lingering resentment and fully embrace the future. One afternoon, during a particularly enlightening session, Dr. Collins asked me, "Ethan, what does forgiveness mean to you?" I thought for a moment, reflecting on everything I had learned. I think forgiveness is about releasing the hold that pain has on you. It's not about condoning what happened, but about freeing yourself from the burden of bitterness. She nodded, a small smile on her face. Exactly. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It allows you to move forward without being shackled by the past. I left that session feeling lighter, with a clearer understanding of what I needed to do. Forgiving Jessica was essential, but I also needed to forgive myself for not seeing the signs, for the anger I had harbored, and for any mistakes I might have made in our marriage. I spent time reflecting on my actions and decisions. I had been faithful and dedicated, but I was not without flaws. Acknowledging my imperfections allowed me to approach forgiveness with humility and empathy. It was a humbling experience, but one that was necessary for my growth. Laura stood by me through this journey, offering unwavering support and understanding. She knew that healing was not a straight path, and that there would be ups and downs. Her presence was a constant reminder of the love and happiness I had found again. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, I shared my thoughts with her. "Laura, I've been thinking a lot about forgiveness lately. It's been a challenging process, but I feel like I'm finally making progress." She turned to me, her eyes filled with warmth. "I'm so proud of you, Ethan. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things to achieve, but it's also one of the most liberating. You deserve to be free from the pain." I took her hand, grateful for her understanding. "Thank you for being there for me. I couldn't have done this without you." "We're in this together," she said, squeezing my hand, "and I'll always be here for you." As the days turned into weeks, I continued to focus on my healing. I immersed myself in activities that brought me joy and fulfillment. Photography remained a passion, and I started a project capturing moments of beauty and resilience in everyday life. It was a way to document my journey and find inspiration in the world around me. I also reconnected with my family, who had been a pillar of support throughout this ordeal. They welcomed me with open arms, offering love and encouragement. Spending time with them reminded me of the importance of strong, supportive relationships and the power of unconditional love. One weekend, I visited my parents at their home. We sat around the kitchen table, sharing stories and laughter. It felt like a return to simpler times, a reminder of the foundation of love and support that had always been there. "Ethan, we're so proud of how far you've come," my mother said, her eyes glistening with tears. "You've shown incredible strength and resilience." My father nodded in agreement. "It's not easy to go through what you've been through and come out stronger on the other side. We're here for you, always." Their words filled me with gratitude. I realized that forgiveness and healing were not just personal journeys, but also communal ones. The love and support of my family and friends have been instrumental in my recovery. As I continued to navigate this new chapter of my life, I felt a profound sense of peace. Forgiveness had given me the freedom to move forward, unburdened by the past. I was ready to embrace the future with an open heart and a renewed sense of purpose. Laura and I grew closer, our bond deepening with each passing day. We talked about our dreams and plans, building a life together filled with love, trust, and joy. The future was bright, and I was excited to see where our journey would take us. Healing and forgiveness were ongoing processes, but I was committed to them. I had faced my past, confronted my pain, and emerged stronger. Now, it was time to fully embrace the life I was creating, a life filled with love, happiness, and endless possibilities. With forgiveness firmly rooted in my heart and healing well underway, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Life with Laura was blossoming into something beautiful, and for the first time in a long time, I was genuinely excited about the future. It was time to take the next step and fully embrace this new beginning. Laura and I decided to take a trip together, a chance to leave behind the remnants of the past and explore new horizons. We chose a quaint coastal town, known for its serene beaches and vibrant local culture. It was the perfect place to unwind, reflect, and plan for our future. As we drove along the winding roads, the ocean breeze flowing through the open windows. I felt a sense of freedom that had been missing for so long. The weight of betrayal and anger had lifted, replaced by a lightness that came from truly letting go. We arrived at a charming bed and breakfast, its whitewashed walls and blooming gardens welcoming us with open arms. The owner, an elderly woman named Grace, greeted us warmly and showed us to our room, which had a stunning view of the sea. It was a place of peace and tranquility, exactly what we needed. Our days were filled with long walks on the beach, exploring the local markets, and savoring delicious meals at cozy restaurants. We laughed, talked, and enjoyed each other's company, deepening our connection with every passing moment. One evening, as we watched the sunset from a secluded spot on the beach, Laura turned to me with a serious expression. "Ethan, I've been thinking a lot about us and our future. I know we've both been through so much, but I believe we're stronger because of it." I looked into her eyes, seeing the sincerity and love that shone there. "I feel the same way, Laura. You've been my rock, my guiding light through all of this. I can't imagine my life without you." She smiled, a hint of nervousness in her expression. "I want us to build a life together, Ethan. A life filled with love, trust, and happiness. Will you take that journey with me?" My heart swelled with emotion. "Yes, Laura. I want nothing more than to spend my life with you. Let's create something beautiful together." We embraced the sound of the waves crashing around us, a fitting backdrop to our promise of a shared future. It was a moment of pure joy, a new beginning that held endless possibilities. When we returned from our trip, we set about making plans for our life together. We decided to move into a new apartment, a place that would be ours from the start, free from the shadows of the past. We spent weekends searching for the perfect home and eventually found a charming loft with large windows and plenty of light. It was a space that felt open and welcoming, much like our relationship. Moving in together was a new adventure, filled with the excitement of blending our lives and creating a home. We painted the walls, chose furniture, and added personal touches that made the space uniquely ours. It was a labor of love, and the result was a cozy haven where we felt truly at home. Our new beginning wasn't just about physical space. It was also about setting new goals and dreams. Laura continued to work on her novel, finding inspiration in our shared experiences. I focused on my photography, capturing moments of beauty and resilience that mirrored our journey. We also made time for fun and adventure, exploring new hobbies and interests together. We took cooking classes, learned to sail, and even started a small garden on our balcony. Each activity brought us closer, strengthening our bond and creating memories that we would cherish forever. One weekend, we decided to throw a housewarming party, inviting our friends and family to celebrate our new beginning. The loft was filled with laughter, music, and the joyful buzz of conversation. It was a night of connection and celebration, a testament to the love and support that had carried us through the darkest times. As the evening drew to a close, Laura and I stood on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. "We've come a long way," she said, leaning her head on my shoulder, "and I can't wait to see where our journey takes us next." "Me too," I replied, wrapping my arm around her. "This is just the beginning, and I know that whatever comes our way, we'll face it together." Our new beginning was more than just a fresh start. It was a commitment to each other and to the life we were building. It was a promise to embrace the future with open hearts and to cherish the love that had brought us together. As I stood there with Laura, the city stretching out before us, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had led me to a place of true happiness. And with Laura by my side, I knew that the best was yet to come. Settling into our new life together brought a sense of peace and stability, but it also came with its own set of challenges. Laura and I were determined to face them head-on, knowing that our strength as a couple would guide us through. One of the first challenges came in the form of my job. The company I worked for announced a major restructuring, and there were rumors of layoffs. The uncertainty weighed heavily on me, and I found myself struggling to stay focused and motivated at work. One evening, as Laura and I were having dinner, I shared my concerns with her. "I'm worried about the changes at work. There's talk of layoffs, and I'm not sure what's going to happen." Laura reached across the table and took my hand. "Ethan, whatever happens, we'll get through it together. You're incredibly talented and hardworking. If the worst happens, we'll figure it out. Maybe it's an opportunity for something new." Her words provided comfort, and I realized that I'd been bottling up my fears. Talking about them made them seem less daunting. I decided to start looking at potential opportunities, updating my resume, and reaching out to contacts in the industry. It was empowering to take proactive steps, and Laura's unwavering support made all the difference. Meanwhile, Laura faced challenges with her writing. She was dealing with writer's block, and the pressure of her upcoming deadline loomed over her. I could see the frustration in her eyes, the self-doubt creeping in. One Saturday morning, I suggested a change of scenery. Let's take a weekend trip. Sometimes a new environment can spark creativity. We can go somewhere quiet, away from distractions. Laura agreed, and we booked a cabin in the mountains. The crisp air and stunning landscapes provided the perfect backdrop for relaxation and inspiration. We spent our days hiking, exploring, and simply enjoying each other's company. In the evenings, Laura would sit by the fireplace with her laptop, the words finally beginning to flow. By the end of the weekend, Laura had made significant progress on her novel. She looked rejuvenated, and her creative spark reignited. "Thank you, Ethan," she said, hugging me tightly. "This was exactly what I needed." The trip reminded us both of the importance of taking breaks and seeking new perspectives. It was a lesson we carried forward, making time for mini getaways and activities that fueled our passions. Back in the city, my job situation reached a tipping point. The layoffs were announced, and I found myself among those affected. It was a blow, but I was determined not to let it define me. I threw myself into job hunting, leveraging my network and exploring new opportunities. Laura was my rock during this time, offering words of encouragement and practical advice. "Remember, Ethan, this is a chance to find something that truly excites you. Sometimes the best opportunities come from unexpected changes." Her optimism was contagious, and I began to see the layoff as a blessing in disguise. After several weeks of interviews and networking, I landed a position with a dynamic startup. The role was challenging and exciting, offering a chance to grow and innovate. Our lives settled into a new rhythm, but the challenges didn't stop there. We faced financial stress from the period of unemployment, unexpected repairs in our apartment, and health scares with our families. Each obstacle tested our resilience, but we faced them together, finding strength in our partnership. One of the most significant challenges came when Laura's father fell seriously ill. He lived in another state, and Laura needed to be with him. We made the difficult decision for her to spend an extended period away, while I managed things at home. The distance was tough, but we communicated daily, supporting each other from afar. I made sure to visit as often as possible, and Laura's father gradually began to recover. The experience brought us closer, reinforcing the depth of our commitment. Through it all, we learned valuable lessons about patience, communication, and adaptability. We realized that life would always throw challenges our way, but it was how we faced them that mattered. Our love and partnership were our greatest assets, helping us navigate even the toughest times. As we celebrated our first anniversary in our new home, we reflected on the journey we had taken. The challenges had been many, but so had the joys and triumphs. We had built a life together based on love, trust, and mutual support, and that foundation would see us through whatever lay ahead. Our new beginning was not without its hurdles, but each one strengthened our bond. We were ready to face the future, hand in hand, knowing that together we could overcome anything. With each challenge we faced, Laura and I grew closer and more resilient. Our love had been tested and proven strong, and we began to look toward the future with excitement and anticipation. We were determined to build a life together that reflected our shared values and dreams. One evening, as we sat on our balcony, the city lights twinkling below us, Laura turned to me with a serious expression. "Ethan, have you thought about where you see us in the next few years? What do you want for our future?" I took a deep breath, considering her question. "I want us to continue growing together, to support each other in our careers and personal goals. I want to travel, to see the world with you, and someday, I want to start a family." Laura smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "I want all of that too. I love the idea of building a future together, of creating a home filled with love and laughter." We decided to start planning for our future in concrete ways. One of the first steps was to create a joint vision board, a collage of images and words that represented our dreams and aspirations. We spent a weekend gathering magazines, cutting out pictures, and assembling our board. It was a fun and inspiring activity that helped us visualize our goals. Travel was high on our list, and we began saving for a series of trips. Our first destination was Italy, a place both of us had always wanted to visit. We planned an itinerary that included exploring the historic streets of Rome, savoring the culinary delights of Tuscany, and marveling at the beauty of the Amalfi Coast. The trip to Italy was magical. We wandered through ancient ruins, tasted exquisite wines, and soaked in the stunning landscapes. Each day brought new adventures and unforgettable moments. The experience deepened our connection and reminded us of the importance of making time for each other. Upon returning from Italy, we focused on our careers. Laura's novel was nearing completion, and she was preparing for its release. I was thriving in my new job at the startup, enjoying the dynamic environment and growth opportunities. We supported each other's professional endeavors, celebrating successes and offering encouragement during challenging times. Our next big step was finding a house. While we loved our apartment, we knew it was time to find a place where we could put down roots and potentially start a family. We spent months searching for the perfect home, a place that felt right for both of us. One sunny afternoon, we stumbled upon a charming house in a quiet neighborhood. It had a cozy feel, with a beautiful garden and plenty of space for future children. We fell in love with it instantly and decided to make an offer. The process was nerve-wracking, but when we received the call that our offer had been accepted, we were overjoyed. Moving into our new home was a milestone that marked the beginning of a new chapter. We decorated each room with care, blending our styles and creating spaces that reflected our personalities. The garden became a favorite project, and we spent weekends planting flowers, vegetables, and herbs. As we settled into our house, the idea of starting a family became more tangible. We discussed our hopes and fears, making sure we were both ready for this next step. It was a big decision, but we felt confident in our love and partnership. In the meantime, we continued to nurture our relationship. We made a point to have regular date nights, exploring new restaurants, attending concerts, and taking weekend getaways. We also joined a local hiking club, finding joy in nature and the companionship of like-minded individuals. Our commitment to personal growth and mutual support remained strong. We attended workshops on communication and relationship building, eager to learn and improve. These experiences brought us closer and reinforced the foundation of trust and respect that we had built. One evening, as we sat by the fireplace in our living room, Laura took my hand and looked into my eyes. "Ethan, I feel so blessed to have you in my life. We've been through so much, and I know we can handle anything that comes our way. I'm ready to start a family with you." Tears of joy welled up in my eyes. "I feel the same way, Laura. You've made me happier than I ever thought possible. Let's take this next step together." We embraced, feeling a sense of unity and purpose. The future was bright, and we were ready to face it together. Our journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also been rich with love, growth, and shared dreams. As we moved forward, we knew that life would continue to present obstacles, but we were prepared. Together, we would build a future filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. And with each new step, we would cherish the journey and the love that had brought us to this moment. The decision to start a family was both exhilarating and daunting. Laura and I embarked on this new chapter with the same determination and love that had carried us through all our challenges. We knew that parenthood would bring its own set of trials, but we were ready to face them together. The journey to parenthood began with a mix of excitement and nervousness. We consulted with our doctor, read countless books on pregnancy and parenting, and talked to friends and family who had children. The more we learned, the more prepared we felt, though we knew that nothing could fully prepare us for the reality of becoming parents. When Laura found out she was pregnant, the joy we felt was indescribable. We celebrated with tears of happiness, holding each other close and dreaming about the future. The months that followed were a whirlwind of preparations. We transformed one of the bedrooms into a nursery, painting the walls a soothing shade of blue and filling it with everything our baby would need. Laura's pregnancy brought us even closer. We attended prenatal classes together, learning about childbirth and infant care. We spent evenings talking to our baby, feeling the kicks and movements that made it all feel so real. Our love for each other deepened as we anticipated the arrival of our child. Despite the joy, there were also moments of anxiety and uncertainty. Pregnancy was not without its challenges, and Laura experienced her share of discomfort and mood swings. We navigated these ups and downs with patience and understanding, supporting each other every step of the way. One memorable evening, as we sat on the couch reading baby name books, Laura turned to me with a soft smile. "Ethan, do you have any names in mind?" I thought for a moment, then said, "How about Olivia for a girl and Noah for a boy? They both have a nice ring to them." Laura's eyes lit up. "I love those names. Olivia and Noah it is." As the due date approached, our excitement grew. We made sure the hospital bag was packed, the car seat was installed, and everything was ready for the big day. When Laura went into labor, a mixture of nervousness and anticipation filled the air. We rushed to the hospital, our hearts pounding with every contraction. The labor was long and intense, but Laura faced it with incredible strength and courage. I stayed by her side, offering words of encouragement and holding her hand. When our baby girl Olivia was finally born, the room was filled with an overwhelming sense of love and wonder. She was perfect, with tiny fingers and a button nose, and the sight of her brought tears to my eyes. Holding Olivia for the first time was a moment I would never forget. As I looked into her eyes, I felt an instant connection, a fierce love that I had never experienced before. Laura and I were parents, and our lives were forever changed. The first few weeks of parenthood were a blur of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and endless feedings. It was exhausting, but also incredibly rewarding. We marveled at every little milestone. Olivia's first smile, her tiny coos, and the way she grasped our fingers. Each moment was a reminder of the miracle of life and the joy of being parents. We quickly settled into a routine, learning to balance the demands of parenthood with our own needs. Laura and I took turns caring for Olivia, ensuring that we both had time to rest and recharge. Our teamwork and communication were more important than ever, and we navigated this new phase of our relationship with grace and patience. Our families were thrilled to welcome Olivia into the world. My parents visited often, doting on their new granddaughter and offering invaluable advice. Laura's father, now fully recovered, came to stay with us for a few weeks, helping out with the baby and sharing stories from his own experiences as a parent. As Olivia grew, so did our confidence as parents. We cherished the simple moments, taking her for walks in the park, reading her bedtime stories, and watching her discover the world around her. Each day brought new challenges and new joys, and we faced them together, united by our love for our daughter and each other. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching Olivia play in the yard, Laura turned to me with a contented smile. "Ethan, this is everything I've ever wanted. Our family, our home, our life together. I couldn't ask for more." I wrapped my arm around her, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Me too, Laura. We've been through so much, and we've come out stronger. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us and Olivia." The joy of parenthood has enriched our lives in ways we had never imagined. It had brought us closer, deepened our love, and filled our days with laughter and wonder. As we looked toward the future, we knew that there would be challenges ahead, but we were ready to face them together. Our journey as parents had just begun, and we were excited to see Olivia grow and thrive. With each passing day, our love for her and each other grew stronger. We were building a life filled with love, joy, and endless possibilities, and we were ready to embrace every moment. The future was bright, and as we held each other close, we knew that we were exactly where we were meant to be, together, as a family, ready to face whatever came our way. As Olivia grew, our lives continued to evolve in wonderful and unexpected ways. Parenthood had brought us immense joy, but it also demanded a great deal of time and energy. Amidst the whirlwind of raising our daughter, Laura and I recognized the importance of maintaining our connection and nurturing our relationship. We needed to rediscover ourselves, not just as parents, but as individuals and partners. One evening, after Olivia had been put to bed, Laura and I sat down with a glass of wine. The quiet of the house felt both soothing and unfamiliar. "We need to make time for us," Laura said softly, her eyes meeting mine. "It's easy to get lost in the day-to-day responsibilities, but our relationship is just as important." I nodded, appreciating her insight. "You're right. We need to make sure we don't lose sight of who we are together." We decided to set aside one night a week for a date night, a time dedicated solely to us. Whether it was going out for dinner, seeing a movie, or simply cooking a meal together at home, these evenings became sacred. They were a chance to reconnect, to talk about our dreams and challenges, and to remind ourselves why we had fallen in love. Our first official date night was a simple but memorable affair. We chose a cozy little restaurant downtown, known for its intimate ambiance and delicious food. As we sat across from each other, I felt a rush of nostalgia and excitement, as if we were on one of our early dates all over again. The conversation flowed easily, and we laughed and shared stories. We talked about our hopes for Olivia, our own goals, and the adventures we still wanted to embark on together. It was a reminder of the strong foundation we had built and the love that had seen us through so much. Date nights became a cherished tradition. They were a reminder that, despite the demands of parenthood, we were still Ethan and Laura, a couple deeply in love and committed to each other's happiness. These evenings allowed us to recharge and brought a renewed sense of intimacy to our relationship. In addition to our date nights, we also explored individual interests and hobbies. Laura continued to work on her writing, finding inspiration in our everyday lives. Her novel, once a source of frustration, was now nearing completion. She poured her heart into the story, and I was proud of her dedication and creativity. I too found solace in my photography. Capturing moments of beauty and resilience had always been a passion, and I began to take on more projects, exploring new techniques and subjects. I even held a small gallery exhibition, showcasing my work to friends and family. Their support and admiration were incredibly validating, and they reminded me of the importance of pursuing my passions. We also made an effort to support each other's endeavors. I would often join Laura in her writing space, offering feedback or simply providing company as she wrote. Similarly, Laura accompanied me on my photography outings, sharing her perspective and enjoying the process alongside me. These shared experiences enriched our lives and deepened our bond. One sunny Saturday, we decided to take Olivia to a nearby botanical garden. It was a place of vibrant colors and lush greenery, a perfect setting for both relaxation and creativity. As Olivia toddled around, fascinated by the flowers and butterflies, Laura and I took turns photographing her, capturing the pure joy on her face. Watching our daughter explore the world with such wonder reminded us of the importance of staying curious and open to new experiences. It was a lesson we took to heart, and we began to seek out more adventures as a family. Whether it was a weekend road trip, a visit to a museum, or a hike in the mountains, these moments of exploration brought us closer and filled our lives with rich, shared memories. In the midst of all this, we made sure to prioritize our health and well-being. We started attending a yoga class together, finding it to be a wonderful way to unwind and reconnect. The practice of mindfulness and meditation helped us manage stress and maintain a positive outlook on life. We also reached out to friends, old and new, rekindling relationships that had been put on hold. Hosting dinner parties, attending social events, and simply enjoying the company of loved ones became a regular part of our lives. These connections added another layer of joy and fulfillment, reminding us that we were part of a larger community. As we navigated this new phase of our lives, we continued to grow as individuals and as a couple. The challenges we faced only strengthened our resolve to support each other and to cherish the love we shared. We knew that life would continue to evolve, bringing new opportunities and obstacles, but we were ready to face them together. Rediscovering ourselves was an ongoing journey, one that required effort and intention. But it was a journey we embraced wholeheartedly, knowing that it enriched our lives and made our relationship stronger. With each passing day, we found new ways to love, support, and inspire each other. The future was bright, filled with endless possibilities. As we stood side by side, watching Olivia grow and thrive, we knew that we were exactly where we were meant to be, together, facing the world with love, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to each other and our family. As time passed, our lives settled into a harmonious rhythm. Our dedication to each other, to Olivia, and to our passions created a strong, loving foundation. But we understood that life would continue to throw us challenges, and we needed to keep strengthening our bonds to navigate them successfully. One evening, after a particularly busy day, Laura and I found ourselves on the couch, exhausted but content. Olivia had been especially energetic, and we both felt the weariness that came from chasing after a toddler. "We need a family day," Laura said, her head resting on my shoulder. "Something fun and relaxing for all of us." I nodded in agreement. "How about a trip to the zoo? Olivia loves animals, and it would be a nice change of pace." Laura's face lit up. "That sounds perfect." The following Saturday, we packed a picnic and headed to the zoo. Olivia's excitement was infectious as she pointed out each animal with wide-eyed wonder. We spent hours exploring, enjoying the simple pleasure of being together. The day was filled with laughter, learning, and a deep sense of connection. Our family outings became a regular part of our lives. We visited parks and aquariums, and even went on a few short camping trips. These experiences brought us closer, creating memories that we would cherish forever. They also allowed us to see the world through Olivia's eyes, reminding us of the beauty and wonder that surrounded us. In addition to our family activities, we made an effort to deepen our connections with extended family and friends. We organized regular gatherings, hosting barbecues, game nights, and holiday celebrations. These events strengthened our sense of community and provided an invaluable support network. One particularly memorable gathering was a weekend reunion with our close friends. We rented a cabin by the lake, a place where we could all relax and reconnect. The weekend was filled with boating, fishing, and late-night conversations by the fire. It was a reminder of the importance of maintaining strong relationships and the joy that came from sharing our lives with others. As Olivia grew, we encouraged her to form her bonds. She started attending a local playgroup, where she made new friends and learned valuable social skills. Watching her interact with other children, seeing her develop friendships and navigate the complexities of sharing and cooperation, filled us with pride. We also made a conscious effort to foster a sense of independence in Olivia. We encouraged her to explore her interests, whether it was painting, building with blocks, or simply playing in the garden. Her curiosity and creativity flourished, and we made sure to celebrate her achievements, no matter how small. At the same time, we worked on strengthening our relationship. We continued our date nights, ensuring that we had time to nurture our connection as a couple. We also participated in a couples workshop, focusing on communication and conflict resolution. These sessions were incredibly beneficial, providing us with tools to navigate disagreements and deepen our understanding of each other. One evening, after Olivia had gone to bed, Laura and I sat on the porch reflecting on our journey. "We've come so far," Laura said, her voice filled with emotion. "I feel like we're stronger than ever." I took her hand, squeezing it gently. "We are. We've faced so many challenges, but we've done it together, and I know we can handle whatever comes next." Our commitment to each other was unwavering, and our love continued to grow. We celebrated our victories no matter how small and supported each other through difficult times. Our bond was our greatest strength, and it was built on a foundation of trust, respect, and unwavering support. As we looked to the future, we knew that there would be more challenges, more moments of joy, and more opportunities to grow. We were ready to face them, confident in our ability to navigate whatever life threw our way. Our journey had been filled with ups and downs, but through it all, our love had remained constant. We had built a life together, one filled with laughter, adventure, and deep, meaningful connections. And as we stood side by side, we knew that our bonds would only continue to strengthen, guiding us through the years ahead. With Olivia in our lives and our relationship stronger than ever, we felt a profound sense of gratitude. We had created a family built on love, resilience, and a shared commitment to each other. The future was bright, and we were ready to embrace it, together. Life, with all its unpredictability, kept us on our toes. Just when we thought we had settled into a comfortable rhythm, change came knocking on our door once again. This time, it was an opportunity that promised both excitement and uncertainty. One evening, as I was helping Olivia with her bedtime routine, Laura walked into the room, holding a letter. Her eyes were wide, with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Ethan, you won't believe this," she said, handing me the letter. I quickly read through it. It was an offer for Laura to speak at an international writers' conference in Paris. It was an incredible opportunity, one that could significantly boost her career and provide her with a platform to share her work with a global audience. But it also meant she would be away for several weeks. "Wow, Laura, this is amazing," I exclaimed, genuinely thrilled for her. "But what about Olivia and me? How will we manage? Laura bit her lip, clearly grappling with the same concerns. I know it's a big ask, Ethan, but this is such a rare opportunity. I've always dreamed of something like this. We can figure it out together, right? I took a deep breath, considering the logistics. It would be challenging, but I knew how important this was to Laura. Of course we can. We'll make it work. You have to go for it. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. We coordinated our schedules, arranged for extra help with Olivia, and made sure everything was in place for Laura's trip. The night before she left, we had a family dinner, cherishing our time together and reassuring Olivia that Mommy would be back soon. The day of Laura's departure was bittersweet. We drove her to the airport, Olivia clutching her hand tightly. Mommy will miss you so much, but I'll be back before you know it, Laura said, hugging Olivia and me tightly. Thank you, Ethan, for supporting me in this. As Laura's plane took off, I felt a pang of loneliness, but also a sense of pride. We were embracing change together, supporting each other's dreams. It was a testament to our growth as a couple and as a family. The weeks that followed were challenging, but also rewarding. Olivia and I settled into a new routine, finding joy in our time together. We video called Laura every day, sharing stories and updates. Seeing her excitement and happiness made the temporary separation worthwhile. Laura's time in Paris was a resounding success. Her presentations were well received, and she made valuable connections in the literary world. She returned home brimming with inspiration and new ideas, ready to take her writing to the next level. Her return was a joyous occasion. Olivia and I greeted her at the airport with flowers and homemade signs. Laura's eyes filled with tears as she embraced us both. I missed you two so much. Thank you for being my rock. We celebrated her homecoming with a special dinner, sharing stories and laughter. The experience brought us closer, reinforcing our commitment to supporting each other's dreams, no matter where they led us. A few months later, change knocked on our door once again, this time with an opportunity for me. My company offered me a promotion that required relocating to a new city. It was a significant career move, one that came with increased responsibilities and the chance to lead a major project. Laura and I sat down to discuss the offer. This is a big opportunity, Ethan, she said, her eyes reflecting both excitement and concern. But it's also a big change. We need to think about what's best for our family. We weighed the pros and cons, considering the impact on Olivia and our lives. The new city had excellent schools, a vibrant community, and promising opportunities for both of us. After careful consideration, we decided to leap. The move was a massive undertaking. We packed up our lives, said goodbye to friends and familiar places, and embarked on a new adventure. It was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking, but we faced it together, confident in our ability to adapt and thrive. Settling into our new home was a journey in itself. We explored the city, found new favorite spots, and connected with our neighbors. Olivia adjusted remarkably well, making new friends and embracing her new environment with the curiosity and resilience that children often possess. Laura found inspiration in the change of scenery, channeling it into her writing. Her career continued to flourish, and she even started a local writers group, building a new community of creative minds. I dove into my new role with enthusiasm, relishing the challenges and opportunities it brought. One evening, as we sat on our new porch watching the sunset, Laura turned to me with a smile. We've been through so much change, but look at where we are now. I'm so proud of us. I nodded, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. We've embraced every challenge and come out stronger, and will continue to do so, no matter what the future holds. Embracing change had become a part of our journey, a testament to our resilience and love. We had faced uncertainties, adapted to new circumstances, and supported each other through it all. Our bond was unbreakable, our commitment unwavering. The future was full of unknowns, but we were ready to face it together, confident in our ability to navigate whatever came our way. With each new chapter, our love and partnership grew stronger, guiding us through life's ever-changing landscape. As we looked out at the horizon hand in hand, we knew that we were exactly where we were meant to be, together, embracing change, and ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. With the move behind us and our new life beginning to take shape, Laura and I took time to reflect on the journey that had brought us here. It was a journey marked by love, resilience, and the unwavering support we had given each other through every challenge. One crisp autumn afternoon, As Olivia played in the yard, Laura and I sat on the porch with a cup of coffee, reminiscing about the path we had walked together. The trees around us were ablaze with color, their leaves a beautiful mix of reds, oranges, and yellows, a fitting backdrop for our reflections. "Do you remember when we first met?" Laura asked, a soft smile playing on her lips. "We had no idea what was ahead of us." I chuckled, nodding. "I remember. It feels like a lifetime ago, but also like it was just yesterday. We've come so far since then." Our conversation meandered through the years, touching on the highs and lows, the moments of joy, and the trials we had faced. We talked about the early days of our relationship, the excitement of our wedding, and the challenges that had tested our bond. Each memory was a thread in the tapestry of our lives, woven together to create the story of us. "I think about the tough times," Laura said, her voice thoughtful. "The betrayal, the uncertainty, the changes we faced. But through it all, we never gave up on each other. That's what I'm most proud of." I reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "We faced those challenges head on, and we came out stronger. I'm proud of us too. We've built something beautiful together." Olivia's laughter floated through the air, bringing us back to the present. We watched her chase after a butterfly, her pure joy a reminder of the innocence and wonder of childhood. She was a testament to our love and the life we had built, a living, breathing symbol of our journey. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the landscape, we continued to reflect on the lessons we had learned along the way. One of the most significant lessons was the importance of communication. Open, honest dialogue had been the cornerstone of our relationship, allowing us to navigate misunderstandings and grow closer. "We've always made time for each other, no matter how busy life gets," I said. "That's something I want to continue, to ensure we never lose sight of our connection." Laura nodded in agreement. "It's those small moments, the everyday conversations and shared experiences, that keep our bond strong. And we've learned to support each other's dreams, even when it means making sacrifices." We also talked about the importance of adaptability. Life had thrown many unexpected changes our way, from career shifts to relocations. Embracing these changes, rather than resisting them, allowed us to grow both individually and as a couple. "Our willingness to adapt has been key," Laura said. "We've faced new opportunities and challenges with an open mind, and that's made all the difference." Another crucial lesson was the power of forgiveness. Letting go of past hurts and choosing to forgive had been a pivotal moment in our journey. It freed us from the weight of resentment and allowed us to move forward with a renewed sense of love and commitment. Forgiveness wasn't easy, I admitted, but it was necessary, and it taught us to value our relationship even more. As the evening grew cooler, we decided to head inside, Olivia trailing behind us with a leaf she had found. We settled in the living room, the warmth of the fireplace adding to the cozy atmosphere. Olivia curled up with her favorite book, and Laura and I continued our conversation. "We've been blessed with so much," Laura said, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "A beautiful family, a loving home, and the strength to face whatever comes our way." I agreed, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. We've built a life filled with love, resilience, and endless possibilities, and I'm excited for what the future holds. Our reflections on the journey reminded us of the importance of cherishing each moment, appreciating the love we shared, and continuing to grow together. We had faced many trials, but each one had brought us closer, reinforcing the bond that held us together. As the night drew to a close, we tucked Olivia into bed, her eyes heavy with sleep. Laura and I stood in the doorway, watching her drift off, and I felt a profound sense of peace. Our journey had been far from easy, but it had been worth every challenge, every triumph, and every moment of growth. We returned to the living room, the fire still crackling softly. Laura leaned against me, and I wrapped my arm around her. "We've come a long way," I said, my voice filled with emotion, "and I wouldn't change a thing." "Neither would I," she replied, her voice equally tender. "Here's to our journey and the beautiful future ahead." As we sat there, surrounded by the warmth of our home and the love we had built, we knew that our story was far from over. There were still many chapters to write, filled with new adventures, challenges, and joys. And we were ready to embrace them, together, with the same love and resilience that had carried us this far. Our journey was a testament to the power of love, the strength of commitment, and the beauty of embracing life with an open heart. And as we looked to the future, we knew that no matter what lay ahead, we would face it together, ready to continue our story with hope, joy, and unwavering love. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos.